Well, that happened quickly. The Wisconsin Badgers have officially announced Luke Fickell as their next head coach. Wow. I mean, I didn't even see this coming. I think most of us probably looked at the job thinking, hey, it's probably Jim Leonard's. You know, he's an alumnus. He's in line with who they've had in the past. He's from the tree, right? He's been kind of hand selected. It just felt like it was going to be the real easy thing for Wisconsin to do is just to remove the interim tag and let's go with Jim Leonard from this point forward. This is how you run a coaching search, okay? You don't let emotions get in the way of hiring the best candidate. I'm looking at you, Auburn. Take notes with what Wisconsin just did. They just told their All-American safety that had been a defensive coordinator on the staff for years and years and years to, hey, we appreciate it, but we have a better candidate that we're going to pursue at this point. Thank you for all that you've done, but it's time now to move on. This, to me, was a remarkable move. I really am surprised by what just went down. First and foremost, let's talk about where Luke Fickell is as a head coach. I don't think Cincinnati fans anywhere can be disappointed whatsoever with what he has currently left the program as. All right, look at the program he inherited. It wasn't dumpster fire by any stretch. If anything, Cincinnati was a dang good program and a dang good job. But ultimately, man, this is a great situation for Luke Fickell. He gets to step in and he gets to go to a program that has a long history of success, at least in recent era. And he now is going to be able to lead a Big Ten program in the league and kind of in a league that he's very familiar with and very fond of, and a league that he's recruited. And two, let's be honest right now, we can say all we want about the Big 12 and where Cincinnati's going, but there is still a slight bit of uncertainty as it relates to the Big 12 and how it will all factor in down the road. Where will they be on the ladder? Where will they be on the totem pole, if you will, when it comes to Power 5 superiority, assuming the Power 5 is still a thing. It might not be, by the way, here in the very near future. Who knows how it's all going to work out, but you get a chance to lead a program that has had remarkable success with Rose Bowl berths and Big Ten championship appearances and all the other different accomplishments that the Badgers have experienced. Man, they have done an awful lot in the current generation of recruits. They have seen Wisconsin play high quality football in big time games on big time platforms in many, many, many different occasions over the past several years. So looking at this, where is Luke Fickell at this point? He is, I think, an established culture builder. He has already proven the ability to find diamonds in the rough. And remember now, hey, what's most important? Like, what is huge right now when it comes to being able to sell your program, right? How about pathway to the NFL? That's significant, right? Like, we all know, look, he wouldn't even be considered for the job if he hadn't put together an impressive win-loss record. Do we really need to go through the fact that he's been there for 6 years, 57-18, college football playoff appearance, conference championships? Like, we don't need to go down and notice the skins on the wall. Anyone can look up on Wikipedia what his record is and what his accomplishments are. But I think if you go a step further and think about what is it that Luke Fickell did so impressively at Cincinnati that he's hopefully going to be able to use now the same blueprint at a place like Wisconsin. One, he was able to find diamonds in the rough. He was able to develop guys that were under-recruited, that had good tools, a la Sauce Gardner, 6'2", but maybe not the fastest guy in the world coming out of high school. Next thing you know, he bulks up from like 160, 155 pounds to 185 pounds. Now he's the 4th overall pick. And look at the success he's having immediately in the NFL. He's not the only one. He did it at corner. He did it along the line of scrimmage defensively. Myjai Sanders comes to mind. He did it at the second level defensively. Beavers comes to mind at the second level. Did it at quarterback, which of course is very significant. Look at what Desmond Ridder accomplished in his 4 years and just the growth and progress that he experienced over the course of his 4-year career there at Cincinnati. He did it at running back. He did it with Ford. Did it at wide receiver with Alec Pierce. He can almost point to several different positions in which he has recruited and developed NFL quality personnel. And that's with having the Group of Five moniker next to his name. Now, the one position that he was unable to recruit to, relatively speaking, was the offensive line. Well, you know what has not been a problem at Wisconsin for a very long time? Offensive line. So he now, I think, will be able to check that box, and they'll be able to continue with kind of the homegrown, cultivate the locker room, cultivate the weight room, make sure that they are all kind of cut from the cloth that he is cut from. He's a Big Ten player. He's a defensive lineman. He was a wrestler in college. Like, he's going to be able to reach the modern player because he was the modern player not that long ago. And he's got a proven track record of success putting guys in the league. And they've seen him in the college football playoff with the long shot story just a year ago. So I think that this is a really strong move. What's maybe more surprising is the fact that he's leaving a school and a program that he kind of built in his own image, right? I mean, they have experienced unprecedented success, and it feels like the trajectory for Cincinnati, I know they might not be playoff bound, not this year, maybe not even next year, the year after that, or the year after that. I don't know. But it just felt like Cincinnati wasn't going to slow down. As soon as they got to the Big 12, you could actually make a pretty strong argument that Cincinnati and Houston were already, the day that they enter the league, UCF too, if you want to add them, BYU too, if you want to add them, those four programs, the day they enter the Big 12, you could make a case they're in the top half of the jobs in the Big 12 because they've already all experienced legitimate success in the last handful of years. I mean, BYU in 2020, UCF, of course, in 2017, and several other years, Cincinnati just last year when they got to the college football playoff, and then Houston when they were, you know, the cat's, the bee's knees, the cat's pajamas just a few years ago when Tom Herman was leading them in the mid 2010s. All right. So we have seen those four programs at really high levels of football in recent era. So I think that all four of those jobs, the second they get in the Big 12, are in the top half of the jobs in the Big 12. And they would be difficult jobs to leave. I wouldn't ever view Cincinnati like it once was when Brian Kelly was there and some of the other guys that have come through Cincinnati, Butch Jones, others. I don't view Cincinnati like a stepping stone anymore. Not with the Big 12 imminent. But I can certainly understand a guy that is Big 10 through and through, that loves the league, that grew up in the league, that understands the league, now has a chance to lead one of the premier programs in the league. Now, Wisconsin is not on the same level of an Ohio State. Wisconsin's not on the same level as a Michigan. And I don't even know if Wisconsin historically is on the same level as a Penn State. But in the modern era, they've been fairly consistent and have been about as predictable as you get when it comes to productivity and win-loss in the last decade and a half or 2 decades. So I think it's a steady job. Here's the problem. And we talked about this a little bit when we broke down Matt Rule's hire at Nebraska. Wisconsin, I think immediately, the day they get rid of divisions, that job gets exponentially more difficult. They were by far the biggest fish in a fairly small pond in the Big Ten West. They could dominate those other 6 teams, and that's why more often than not in the last decade, they've found their way to the not to the college football playoff, but they found their way to the Big Ten championship and within striking distance a time or two of the college football playoff. Well, now if they get rid of divisions, guess which job becomes insanely more difficult? Wisconsin's, because now you're not just contending against the likes of Minnesota and Iowa and Nebraska and Northwestern and Illinois. Those aren't the teams you're trying to beat en route to the conference championship. You're now having to beat both Michigan and Ohio State to get to the conference championship. That is obviously a much more difficult pill to swallow. But either way, I think this was a really well done job by Wisconsin, letting emotions stay away. Stay away, emotions. I love Jimmy Leonard. I appreciate Jimmy Leonard. I'm so grateful for everything Jimmy Leonard provided his institution. But your time as the leader of this program has come to an end We have to go with a guy that's a little bit more established. We're going to go with Luke Fickell. I love that they didn't allow emotions to play in. They didn't take the easy route. Instead, they decided to go hire the best candidate. And as a result, Luke Fickell has found a new home in Madison.